The dust that killed Mutt Mantle is the same dust that paid for Mickey's first baseball glove. The same Eagle-Picher zinc mines that slowly destroyed Mutt's lungs, particle by particle, year by year, are what kept food on the table in Commerce, Oklahoma, what paid the rent, what put a baseball glove in a little boy's hands and kept it there. Mickey Mantle hit 536 home runs in the major leagues. He won 7 World Series rings. He hit baseballs so far that people stopped measuring in feet and started needing tape measures. And for 18 years, from the day he put on pinstripes to the day he took them off, he was the most physically gifted baseball player anyone had ever seen. But here is what nobody told you. Every single thing Mickey Mantle ever did on a baseball field was built on something he never fully understood. A sacrifice he could see but couldn't measure. A debt so large it had no number. And the man who made it, the man who built Mickey Mantle from the ground up, died at 40 years old in a Denver hospital without ever seeing what he had created. This is Mutt Mantle's story, and it is the saddest, most extraordinary story in the history of American baseball. It's 1934. Mickey is 3 years old. The Great Depression has hollowed out most of rural Oklahoma. Men who had jobs 6 months ago are standing in lines. Mutt Mantle is not standing in a line. Mutt has something most men in Commerce don't have: a job. The Eagle-Picher Company needs men in their lead and zinc mines just outside of town. The work is brutal. You go underground in the dark, you breathe air that tastes like metal, and you come out 8 hours later covered in gray-white dust that doesn't wash all the way off. Your hands are never fully clean. Your lungs are never fully clear. Men who work those mines long enough get sick. Everyone knows this. Lung disease, heart problems, cancer. The Mantle family already knows it firsthand. Mickey's grandfather worked the same mines. So did Mutt's brother. The dust takes them all eventually. Mutt knows this and goes in anyway, because this is the bargain. This is what 1934 in Commerce, Oklahoma looks like when you have a family to feed and no other options. You make the trade. You go underground. You come home. But here is the thing about Mutt Mantle that you need to understand before anything else. He was not a man without a plan. Before Mickey was born, before the boy had drawn his first breath, Mutt had already named him Mickey Cochran, the great catcher for the Philadelphia Athletics, Mutt's favorite player. A man of impossible athletic intelligence. Mutt looked at his unborn son and saw something that wasn't there yet, something he was going to build. That's not a father with a hobby. That's an architect with a blueprint. 4 o'clock every afternoon. That's when Mutt comes home from the Eagle-Picher mines. Gray dust in the creases of his hands, in his hair, in his lungs, though he doesn't yet know the full extent of what's accumulating there. He has maybe 2 hours of daylight left. He changes his clothes. He goes to the tin barn behind the house at 319 South Quincy Street. Mickey is waiting. Mutt pitches right-handed. Mickey bats left-handed. Then Mickey's grandfather Charlie arrives, pitching left-handed this time, and Mickey switches to bat right-handed. Back and forth, left side, right side. The tin barn is backstop. Tennis balls in the Oklahoma dusk. This is how the greatest switch hitter in baseball history was engineered. Not discovered, engineered, deliberately, systematically, by a zinc miner who came home exhausted every single day and went straight to that barn anyway. That tin barn still stands in Commerce today. The dents in the metal siding are still there. 60 years of Oklahoma weather, and they haven't smoothed out. Mickey Mantle hit those dents into that barn before he was old enough to read. Think about that the next time you see a tape measure home run. Think about where the swing started. Not in Yankee Stadium, not at spring training. In the dark, behind a tin barn, with a tired man's hands and whatever daylight was left. Mutt never talked about what the mines were doing to him. That wasn't how men in Commerce, Oklahoma talked. You didn't discuss the cost of things. You just paid it and kept going. He went in every morning. He came home every afternoon. He went to the barn, pitch by pitch, year by year, particle by particle. Summer, 1951. Mickey Mantle is 19 years old. Casey Stengel had already told reporters that Mickey was something he'd never seen before. The power, the speed, the switch hitting. Stengel had managed Ruth's Yankees, had watched DiMaggio play every day for years, and he said flatly that this 19-year-old from Oklahoma was different, historically different. But by July, Mickey is hitting .260 with 52 strikeouts. Stengel sends him down to the Kansas City Blues to find himself. Mickey does not find himself. He sits in a cheap hotel room and stares at the walls. He goes to the plate and feels nothing. The swing that was pure instinct his entire life suddenly feels like a stranger's swing. He strikes out. He strikes out again. The thing Mutt spent 15 years building in that Oklahoma barn has gone completely silent. One night, alone in Kansas City, Mickey picks up the phone and calls Commerce, Oklahoma. "Dad," he says, "I don't think I can play baseball anymore." Silence on the line. Mutt hangs up. He gets in his car. He drives from Commerce to Kansas City, a 4-hour drive through the flat Oklahoma and Missouri landscape. He doesn't call ahead. He doesn't warn Mickey he's coming. He just drives. When he arrives at Mickey's hotel room and knocks, Mickey opens the door. Mutt walks past him without a word, goes straight to the closet, starts pulling Mickey's clothes out and putting them in a suitcase. Mickey watches him. "What are you doing?" Mutt keeps packing, doesn't look up. "If you're quitting, you're coming home with me. We'll work the mines together." Mickey stares at his father, at the hands he has watched throw 10,000 pitches in the dark behind a tin barn, at the man who named him before he was born because he believed, with a certainty that had no rational basis, that his son was going to be something extraordinary. "I thought I raised a man," Mutt says. He's still not looking at Mickey. "I see I raised a coward instead." Something breaks open in Mickey Mantle. Not anger, not defiance. He starts crying. Standing in a Kansas City hotel room at 19 years old, the most physically gifted baseball player in America is standing there crying because his father is packing his bags. He tells Mutt he'll try again. Mutt stops packing. He looks at his son for a long moment. Then he puts the suitcase down and leaves. What happened next was this. In 40 games with the Kansas City Blues, Mickey Mantle posted a 1.960 OPS. The Yankees called him back up in August. That fall, he played in the World Series. Mickey would tell that hotel room story for the rest of his life. Every time he told it, he said the same thing. "That was the day my father saved my career." What he didn't say, what he couldn't have known, is that while he was in Kansas City falling apart and putting himself back together, the Eagle-Picher mines were doing what they had always done. Mutt went home to Commerce and went back underground. October 1951. Yankee Stadium. World Series, Game 2. The drain cover is invisible under the outfield grass. Mickey's right cleat catches its edge at full speed. His foot stops. His body doesn't. The knee folds inward, and Mickey goes down in the grass without a sound. 65,000 people watch it happen. The stadium doesn't go quiet all at once. Sound that large recedes slowly, like a tide pulling back, section by section, row by row, until you can hear almost nothing. Mutt is in the upper deck. He doesn't wait for an announcement. He doesn't ask permission. He pushes through the crowd and makes his way down and out and onto the field because that is his boy lying in the outfield grass of Yankee Stadium, and there is no protocol on earth that means anything next to that fact. They get Mickey into a taxi outside the stadium. Mutt is helping him, one arm around his son's shoulders, guiding him toward the car. On the sidewalk, Mutt collapses. They take them both to Lenox Hill Hospital, and they put them in the same room. Think about what that room looks like. Mickey in one bed, his right knee destroyed, his career suddenly fragile in a way it wasn't 3 hours ago. Mutt in the other bed, 60 feet away, the World Series playing on a television mounted on the wall. Two men from Commerce, Oklahoma, in a New York City hospital room. Neither of them says what they're really thinking. Mickey is 19. He's watching his knee throb and trying to calculate what it means for next season. He doesn't know yet that this is only the first of many things that will try to take him apart, that the knees will become a running wound he carries for the next 17 years. Mutt is watching his son. The doctors have come to Mutt's side of the room. They've told him what's growing inside him. They've given it a name, Hodgkin's disease. They haven't given him a precise timeline, but Mutt is 40 years old, and he has watched this disease move through his family. He understands what the diagnosis means. He looks at Mickey. Mickey is watching the game. Mutt makes a decision, the last great decision of his life. He is not going to tell Mickey, not tonight, maybe not ever. His son has enough to carry right now. His son has a knee that may or may not heal, and a career that is suddenly uncertain, and the weight of becoming Joe DiMaggio's replacement, because everyone in New York already knows that DiMaggio is done after this series. So Mutt watches Mickey, and Mickey watches the game. The World Series continues on the television screen between them. The announcers fill the silence, and in that room, suspended between them like smoke, is something neither of them will say out loud. Mutt knows he is running out of time. Mickey doesn't know. That is the whole story in that room between those two men. Everything else, every home run, every championship, every standing ovation, grew out of that silence. May 7th, 1952. The Yankees are on the road. Mickey Mantle is in the clubhouse. Casey Stengel walks across the room. He moves slowly, not because he is old, though he is old, because of what he is carrying, because there is no good way to cross a room toward a 20-year-old kid and deliver the news he's about to deliver. He reaches Mickey, puts his hand on his shoulder, doesn't say anything for a moment. Mutt Mantle is gone. 40 years old, Denver, Colorado. The Hodgkin's disease that had been working through him since those zinc mine years, through his father before him, through his brother, has finished its work. Mickey doesn't move for a long time. Later, someone will write that he was inconsolable. That word doesn't cover it. Inconsolable means comfort failed. What happened to Mickey Mantle that day is that the architecture of his life, the man who built him, who named him, who drove 4 hours to Kansas City to tell him he was not a coward, who lay in a hospital room and said nothing about what the doctors had found, that architecture collapsed all at once. The next day, Mickey Mantle played baseball. Not eventually, the next day. He played because that is what Mutt built him to do. Not to stop when it was painful, not to sit down when the weight became unbearable, to go to the plate, to hold the bat, to find it. That 1952 season, the first season without Mutt watching, Mickey hit .311 with 23 home runs. The Yankees won the World Series. Mickey was extraordinary in October. Head down, quiet, that slight limp around the bases. No celebration, just the bases, one at a time. For the rest of his career, Mickey Mantle carried a belief that shaped everything. He was going to die before 40. Not because he was dramatic, because the evidence of his own family told him so. His grandfather, his father, his uncles, all of them gone before 40. The pattern was clear, and Mickey accepted it as simply the price of being a mantle. He talked about it openly at times. When reporters asked why he pushed so hard, why he played through injuries that should have kept him in a hospital bed, Mickey would say some version of the same thing. "I don't have a lot of time. None of the Mantle men do." This belief drove the drinking that started the year Mutt died and never fully stopped. It drove the sense of urgency, not ambition, urgency, that made Mickey play every game like it might be one of the last. It cost him his marriage in ways that took decades to fully surface. It cost him years of health he might have protected if he'd believed he had years to protect. Here is what Mickey Mantle did not know. It was never genetics. The Hodgkin's disease that killed his grandfather, his father, his uncles, it came from the dust. Eagle-Picher zinc mine dust, breathed in year after year, accumulated in the lungs of the men who went underground to feed their families. The mines caused it, not the Mantle blood. The mines. Mickey's son, Billy, died of Hodgkin's disease at 36 years old. Mickey didn't know it was the mines. He thought it was the family. He thought the curse was in their DNA and not in the ground beneath the town where he grew up. He spent 40 years inside a lie built from silence, and the silence was nobody's fault. It was just what happened when companies like Eagle-Picher didn't tell the truth about what they were putting into the air that working men breathed. The dream and the death were always the same thing. Mutt went underground every morning so Mickey could stand in the light. Mickey later said, "No boy ever loved his father more than I loved mine. He was the bravest man I ever knew." He said it simply, without performance, the way you state something you have known for so long that the weight of it has become ordinary. In Commerce, Oklahoma, there is a baseball field. It is not called Mickey Mantle Field. It is called Mutt Mantle Field, named after the zinc miner who came home at 4 o'clock every afternoon and went straight to the tin barn, who drove 4 hours to Kansas City to tell his son he was not a coward, who lay in a hospital room with a diagnosis he didn't share because his boy had enough to carry. That is the most honest thing Commerce, Oklahoma ever did. The home runs were Mickey's, the championships were Mickey's, the legend was Mickey's. But the man who made all of it possible went underground every morning for years, breathing in the thing that would kill him, and came home every evening and picked up a baseball. 536 home runs, every single one of them built from dust. If this story hit you somewhere, if it made you think about the people who built you, the sacrifices you could see but couldn't fully measure, hit that like button, subscribe. There are more stories like this one, stories about what happens in the dark before the lights come on and the crowd arrives. Tell me in the comments, did you know about Mutt? Because most people don't, and that's exactly why this needed to be told.